Okay, why don't you check to see if it's, why don't you join it and see if it's coming up and then sort of de-join it. Hit refresh on your whole page and see what you got. Better. Hit the play button.
Looks like I'm...
It's always going to look bad because it's got like a 7-second delay. You'll see what we were talking about 7 seconds ago. It's always going to look bad. See? So now you can close that to keep yourself from being super confused. But we basically know that. No, you can just close that so we're not wasting any streaming. But we know that it works, or you can just minimize that. And we're live and we're recording. Hello, YouTube. Hello, folks.
Hello, world. I'm
Charles Severance, Paul Resnick. We're here to talk about programming sequences and the various ways into the programming sequences. But we're about 5 minutes before we start, so just chill. We're taking questions both in the C-Tools chat room for MHI and for MSI, as well as I will watch the chat. I will watch the questions inside of the
Q&A.
Hangout. So there we go. I got the question inside the Hangout. We'll just kind of bounce back and forth. Did we send? Has there been any email? Yeah, you can close that. Shut that all down. Yeah.
But now I don't have the Q&A.
But you're not going to ask any questions.
Fair enough.
Here we go. Well, have we sent this yet?
Sarah has posted it in the MSI, saying discussion begins in 5 minutes.
No, there's some questions from, they're already starting to talk in the MHI forum about.
Well, they've been talking about other things already.
But they've been talking about SI 502 and SI. Or if you go back to that thing, you'll see if we got people watching. We'll start it.
Start it again.
Oh wait, maybe I can see that. Oh, you just sent email.
I don't see as a guest.
Maybe I
don't see how many.
We have 8 viewers.
Well, hello, everybody. Yeah. Hello, world, as we say in the programming world.
Yeah. We've got 1 minute, and then we'll start.
Excellent.
So we're taking questions in the MHI forum on C-Tools, the MSI forum on C-Tools, and right in the Google Hangout if you're watching in the Google Hangout. So Paul and I will be sort of bouncing between all three of those. I'm gonna grab something. Can I have a water? One of your waters?
Grab one of those, yes.
You want one?
Sure, bring one of those for me too.
It's always good when you're sort of on TV to have something to take a short break.
We also have our fine Michigan coasters here.
Available from the online UMSI store, apparently.
Those of you who have not experienced the Michigan winter, this is how beautiful it can look with some snow on the trees.
And this is what a Michigan fall looks like, which is even more beautiful.
Yes. Right now, we're experiencing Michigan summer.
Michigan summer.
Which is hot.
Quite. But beautiful. I put on my long pants for this. I was wearing shorts all day, but I'm going to be on TV, so I'm going to wear long pants for that. Summers are great. Well, we got enough folks because some folks will be watching this on YouTube. I'll just hide us. Oh, okay. So Sarah's posted it to MSI.
And it just got posted in MHI as well.
Okay. Might as well start.
We can start. Are we answering questions, or are we?
Well, I think we'll start. The way these always work is the questions take a little bit. So probably the best thing to do is to introduce ourselves. We can start with introducing you and then introducing me and sort of summarizing the situation and that usually gets everything started nicely.
All right.
So I've hidden the video because it's really bad for us to look at our own video because then we're not looking at the camera. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Paul Resnick. You want me to say something more than just my name?
You have a title here, and what do you teach?
Sure. I've been on the faculty here since 1997. I'm the Associate Dean for Research and a professor at the School of Information. This fall I'll be teaching 506 and also an undergraduate course covering some related material, 106.
So I'm Charles Severance. I've been here at the School of Information since 2008, and I teach SI 502, and I also teach the Coursera class, Coursera specialization called Python for Everybody that some of you may have taken, and we'll be talking about it. So, and I'll be teaching 502 in the fall. So, Paul, do you want to sort of start and give a kind of overview about how these courses all fit together?
Well, one thing I'll say is that you are joining the School of Information at a time when our curriculum is changing. It's always changing a little bit, but the programming curriculum in particular is changing this year. You're fortunate that you're getting to start on not in the midst of a transition. There are two possible starting points for you. Either 502, which Chuck is teaching, or 506, which Steve Oney and I will be teaching. Not everybody in our master's programs goes on to do advanced technical courses like information visualization or database-backed websites or mobile dev or advanced analytics and things like that. But many of our students do. And we are rolling out a new curriculum this fall, which gives students a good path to get to those advanced courses. And that path is basically 506 and then another class in the winter, 507. And after that, you're ready to take any of our advanced classes. So that's, I think, probably the big story. But some of you may be feeling like you're may not be ready to jump into 506. 506 will start at the beginning of teaching programming and teaching the Python programming language, but it will go pretty fast at the beginning, because it assumes that you have had some exposure to programming in some language before, maybe even enough so that you could spend a couple hours looking at the materials that we provided you to prepare for a waiver exam, and at least know what variables are and how to call functions in Python.
So what I would add to that is that the curriculum is getting better. I mean, I think we've had a great curriculum for a very, very long time. We have a wide range of incoming students, talent level incoming students. Some students have, a computer science degree, and some students haven't even taken the first programming class. They don't even know what a variable is. And so we pride ourselves in making sure we have paths that allow everybody to learn something about programming. And up till this year, we kind of had this problem where we had this really great beginning programming class, I'm very proud of it, SI 502. And then we have some more advanced classes. And the problem is students would complain that we didn't get them far enough in this class. There's sort of like this sort of chasm between the first class and some of the later classes. And so what we've done is we really added another class in there. And it means that some of our later classes, starting this year and over the next couple of years, will be even better. They will take students farther. So that's another complaint that we've gotten from students, is some of our programming classes don't, at the very end, the programming classes don't get you as far as you'd like. And that's because we have too many classes that kind of start real early and say, oh, I got to review a whole bunch of things. And so now by having 506 and 507 real solid classes, and I like to think of 507 as at the end of 507, you should be able to write a 500 to 1,000 line program on your own from specifications. And going from, I don't know what a variable is, all the way up to 500 lines of code, that's a challenging step. And we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to do that. So 506 is the beginning programming class. 507 is sort of a second programming class. And then 502 is here this fall for those who are not really ready or a little worried. Now, one of the things we're going to do when we get people on campus is if you register for 502 and after a while you think you should be in 506, we'll find a way to get you there, right? So, some people with computer science degrees might even find their way out of 507, right? If they're really, really, really smart and sophisticated, but that's a whole different process. So our whole goal of having this conversation with you right now is to make sure that you end up in the right class at the starting point. Do you start at 502? Do you start at 506? And do you start at 507? And so we have a number of things. And then we also have the MOOC that you may already be taking this summer that is very much a replacement for 502. And so no one who has taken the MOOC and finished the 4 MOOC classes, there is just no reason to take 502. If you've taken the MOOC, you should go straight into 506. The MOOC is really good preparation for 506. And I think that's for someone who's never programmed at all, the right pattern is take the MOOC, don't take 502, and go straight into 506 your first fall. And I think that's a wonderful way for us. That, to me, that's the ideal path. If you start with no programming experience whatsoever, take the MOOC, take 506, take 507, and you can actually go quite a distance in our curriculum, even if before you started the MOOC, you have no idea what's going on.
That sounds good. We'd love to hear your questions.
Yeah. Yeah, so Devin said it in the MHI, same kind of thing. The MS side, do we have any questions in there?
We have the Hui Liang saying that your teaching style is really great, which is a nice thing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think you'll find that there's a lot of people here at the School of Information who have really great teaching style. My teaching style is kind of how things are around here. We value teaching highly in this building. We really do, and value your time and want you to come here and learn a lot of stuff. And then after you graduate, make us be very, very, very successful and make us very proud. So we put a lot into that.
We do. We're not all as cool as Dr. Chuck.
Yeah,
and
no.
We definitely don't all have tattoos of the many programming projects we've been part of.
Yeah,
he does.
I do have tattoos. Yeah. Yeah. So please ask us questions in either of the chats or the Google Hangout. That's what we're here for. Although we're both faculty members, we literally can talk for an hour about just about anything without trying very hard.
We can't. We try to restrain ourselves.
That's why you're better at inverting your classroom than I am. You're better at restraining yourself when talking. I'm in the middle of the Python Coursera specialization. Welcome. I'm curious to see if there's anything else that people do to get ready for the fall coursework. Are you talking about programming, or are you talking about other things? I would say that in terms of programming, just rocking your way all the way through the specialization. One thing about the specialization on Coursera is that you can go a lot faster than it tells you to go, right? If it says, oh, you're supposed to finish this in 5 weeks, and then this next thing in 5, because there's really 4 classes that are all 5 weeks long, which is technically 20 weeks. But there are plenty of people that go in the first class 2.5 weeks, second class 2.5 weeks, third class 3 weeks, fourth class 3 weeks, and they're done, in less than 10 weeks, basically. And so don't hesitate to move quickly through that as quickly as you can. And how fast you can move through the Python specialization in Coursera is sort of a good indication. But pretty much, I would say, if you've made it through the first 2, you still should go into 506. If you feel really confident and strong about the first 2 classes in the specialization, you probably shouldn't take 502, because if you do, literally the first 5 weeks of 502 are exactly the same as the first 2 Python specialization, first 2 classes of Python specialization. You will do the exact same homework. You will be bored to death. Other people who haven't taken it will be learning a lot, but you will be bored to death, and you will really, I think, enjoy 506 a lot. So you don't have to finish the specialization, get through the first 2, which is the first 10 chapters of that book. And what'll happen is 506 will start kind of at the same place that 502 started at, but it's going to go faster, and there's going to be, the programs will get larger more quickly. And you're going to want that, actually. You're not going to want, sometimes you might think that the thing to do is to come here and get an easy A. And I think that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to come here and get an easy A, because you've only got 4 semesters to be here. And there's so many great courses. I mean, you may not even know what those courses are. And sometimes you don't even know what the great courses are until you've been here half a semester. The problem is, if you waste one of your slots, that much you can't do, that much that you're not getting done by the end of your first year, so you can take it into your internship. So even though it's tempting to say, oh, I want to go get an easy A in 502, we really, really, really encourage you to be in more of a hurry to get through the curriculum, both for that first year internship and just because you're bored. You will be bored. And
being bored is a very bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, an easy A, this is not about pumping up your grade point average. This is about making the best use of your time, because learning basic Python, that's just something we want you to do. And wasting 1 extra semester in 502 is not something that we want you to do.
We mentioned one other resource. So taking the Coursera course is great, and it walks you through everything. And it's fun. If you want a more compact thing and you feel more confident just going through an interactive textbook on your own, in the CTools site on the left, you'll see a link that says 502 Waiver Prep. When you click on it, you have to click on one more thing. It takes you to an external site, which is an interactive online textbook with a subset of the material that you'll actually be studying in 506. It's a very selected subset, but if you can get through that stuff, there at the bottom there's a link to a practice waiver exam. It's very much like the waiver exam that we'll administer once you get on campus. So if you're wondering, am I going to be able to pass that exam, go take the practice one.
Yeah, and in particular, I think, Paul, the most important point about that is if you try to take the Coursera, you might have to wait a week till something starts, or this or that or the other thing. The nice thing about the SI 502 waiver prep in your in the CTools site is that you go, and if you're done in 3 days, you're done in 3 days. If you already do think you know something about programming, you could be done with this prep in 3 days if you really can go through it quickly enough. So
maybe even 3 hours.
Right. If you're confident enough that you would just go through it self-paced. Whereas the Coursera, if you're a little less confident, will goad you a little bit, and there'll be recorded lectures and stuff. But that takes time too. And so, we're halfway through summer. It's the middle of July, and we're halfway through summer. And so you don't have 20 weeks. You only have like
6.
6. I wanted to say 15, but we don't have 15 weeks. We only have 6.
We're much more anxious about the time available to us to prepare for the fall than you are at this point. Trust me.
It's surprisingly symmetric. Oh, here we go. Is Python for Everybody Specialization the right course to prepare for the SI 506 waiver exam? Does that mean the waiver exam to get into 506, or the waiver exam to get out of 506? Is 507 going to be in Python as well? That's another really good question. That one's here, Paul. No, it's here in Google Hangouts.
Okay.
Is 507 going to be in Python as well? I come from a computer science background and have worked in languages like C and C++ and Java. Yeah, that's
so 507 will be Python based. Going into 507, they're assuming that you know how to use the Python constructs of classes and dictionaries and list comprehensions and some of these. Some of the cool Python things. In 507, the goal is to get you to the point where you can install packages, read documentation, look for answers on Stack Overflow, that you can be an independent programmer. That's where they're trying to get you at the end of 507. 506 is trying to teach you basic programming constructs, get you to the point where you can write some smallish programs with a lot of direction. And when we ask you to use a new package like the requests module, we walk you through every step of here's what the parameters are for invoking things. In 507, they're trying to get you to the point where you'll be able to read documentation and pick those things up on your own. So it is still using Python. The idea is that they don't want to spend a lot of time on teaching a programming language there. They want to be teaching programming skills and debugging skills.
Is there a way that we're going to let people out of 507? Is that still the manual?
Yes, we haven't talked. We've talked about how to know whether you can skip 502 and take 506, but actually you can skip 506 and go right into 507. And for some people, you can skip 507 and go right into our advanced courses. We are about to release the mechanism for placing out of 506 and into 507, which is basically going to be to do one of the problem sets from about 2/3 of the way through 506.
And will that be hand graded, basically?
There's a bunch of automated tests in it, and then there'll be a light hand grading afterwards to make sure that you didn't fake it. But mostly you'll know whether you've passed it because you'll be passing all of these automated tests that are built right into that problem set.
And how about out of 507?
For 507, we haven't worked out exactly what the mechanism is going to be yet. 507 doesn't exist yet. It will be offered for the first time in winter. And the waiver from that will probably be something similar. Do a problem set from 2/3 of the way through the class, which requires you to install some package and learn how to use it from the available public instructions and do something with it.
Yeah, and so for someone like the Pallavi, I've done C, I've done C++, I've done Java. That means you want to pick up Python, right? And that part of the reason is that we're so Python obsessed is it's both a great language to learn as your first language, and it's a great language for data mining. So natural language toolkit and other kinds of things. So you will, the later course, not all the later courses are in Python, but the later courses expect you to be good at Python. So for example, when I teach PHP in SI 664, I teach PHP and say, this is how we did it in Python, and this is how we do it in PHP, as compared to like just teaching PHP, because we assume you know Python. And so getting out of 507, you could probably get out of 506 kind of, I've got some programming, and I can probably pick Python up pretty quickly. A week or so, if you're really good at programming, a week or so, you're probably ready for 507. You'll be fine to get into 507. But to get out of 507, we kind of expect you to be good at Python. And it might not take you that long to get good at Python, but we do expect you to be master of Python, because we don't want you walking into a class that has 507 as a prerequisite, and the teacher on the first day goes, install NLTK. And you're like, hey, what's Python? That teacher will be very, very angry if we let you out of 507 and you walked into 6XX and said, well, how do I install Python? That just we'll feel really bad that we didn't set up a very good structure if that's it.
Right.
Because that's the problem we're trying to solve, is all these advanced classes spend their first 3 or 4 weeks teaching Python again, because everyone's like, oh, what's Python? And so that's the whole idea of 507. So if you want to avoid 507, get good at Python, right? And you can get good at Python lots of ways. You could take My Programming for Everybody. You could do the SI 502 waiver prep, but get good at it, and get good at it to the point where you can write a 500 to 1,000 line program, not just hello world, but write a significant program and use packages.
Yeah. So we're definitely not trying to push everyone to take these courses. We
Yeah.
are pushing everyone to meet the learning objectives of these courses, and we'd be delighted. And I think for most students who have a computer science background, or have been working as a software engineer or something, really you should do self-study and place out of 506 and 507. It's not going to be the right thing to take these classes. You have enough skills to spend a day or two and learn enough of Python. And we have free online textbooks, including the one for 506 that you'll be welcome to use. There'll be all the materials for 507 once they're assembled, and that class, as I said, is going to be offered for the first time in winter. Once those materials are assembled, you'll be welcome to use those materials as for refresher or self-study in order to not take the class if you have a significant software development background.
Yeah, let me sort of doubly emphasize something that Paul just said, and that is all these little barriers that we seem to be setting up, what to do 502, 506, 507. We absolutely do not want you to take more classes than you need to take. If we could somehow wave a magic wand and poof, everybody watching this video would know everything in 507, and we had such a magic wand, and now we don't have, and like there's only 4 people in 506 and 4 people in 507 and 4 people in 502. We would love that, because that means that you're going to make the best use of your next 2 years here. And so we're not trying to hold you back. We're looking for ways to, yes, we're trying to find a way to say, sure, skip 502, or sure, skip 506, or sure, even skip 507. So our motivation is to find you a way into these more advanced courses, but not in a way that leaves you unprepared for those courses. We've got to prepare you for them, because if we don't, you're not winning. You didn't win if you pop into a course and you're absolutely not ready for what that course wants to take off. And again, we're trying to value your time, both by not making you take all these classes, but then also by having you prepared for the classes that you're going to take, so that you get a certain distance while you're here. So getting out of the 506 course, you're going to be releasing to get out of the 5. So I would say, is Python for Everybody specialization the right course to prepare for the 506 waiver exam? I think the answer is, and that's to get straight into 507. I think that depends. If you're an absolute beginner and you don't know anything about variables and you want a little bit of help, you take the specialization and then see how you do on that. If you take the specialization far enough, you should go straight into 506. If you can do self-study, go to the SI 502 waiver prep page in the CTools sites and then file that as quick as you can. And if as you're doing that, that feels like, oh, I need a little more help, well, drop back to the specialization. That's slower with a lot more support. And there's teaching assistants in the specialization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
We have a question here of how does 506 compare to your Coursera specialization?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we've had a lot of conversations on scribbling on my wall in my office about this. This is how I explain it, and I'll be curious how you explain it too, Paul. So to some degree, both 506 and 502 are beginning classes. But how much you know at the end of the beginning classes is quite different between 502 and 506. And the reason is in 502, we set the pacing and the amount of scaffolding. You get a lot of sample code, you get a lot of scaffolding. It's a very broad course. We learn lots and lots of things and do databases and this and that. But we only do them kind of to just kind of a top layer in a way that you're like, oh, I know a lot of stuff. And then the problem with 502 is if you then are dropped off when you don't have scaffolding and GSIs, teaching assistants, then you're like, oh, now I don't know exactly what to do. So 502 tends to get you a lot of confidence and less like I'm a programmer. 506 kind of covers the same stuff with more rigor and more depth and less scaffolding. And so that's why 502 is great for people who are scared or not confident. The same with specialization for people a little not confident, a little unscared. And then that's why you can take 502 and then 506. Even though there's an overlap between those classes, what you're learning in 506 is how to be a programmer. And then what you're learning in 502 is like what programming is, right? You're not really a programmer. And that's the problem we had with our curriculum over these years. And that's why it's taken us a lot to build all these extra classes, because we would say, oh, I kind of know what programming is. And then we say, how come you're not a programmer? And the answer is we have this gap. And so I would say in the future, the thing that I expect is that probably this time next fall, doesn't affect you so much. 502 probably won't be something we teach anymore. We'll just say, take the MOOC and go into 506. And if we'd have done this a year ago, that's probably where we would be. We'd say, if you're worried and if you're nervous, take the MOOC. And then come on campus and take 506. And you'd be very ready for 506. And so I hope that kind of helps, that 502 is beginning, but it's more about understanding programming and less about being the ability to make programs. Whereas 506, you are on a track to make programs. And that's what we want you to be able to do before you leave. Make sense?
That sounds right. So part of what I'm hearing you say is that the Coursera specialization maps pretty well to 502.
Right, and that's why in the future, if 502 is not part of our curriculum, the Coursera specialization can continue to take on the role of beginning students. We just have to make it really clear in advising in the future that, you know, that 506 is a more difficult, the first class you'll encounter on campus, 506 is a more difficult class than 502 formerly was. But here's this wonderful MOOC that you can do, so you're rocking and rolling as soon as you walk in the door next year.
Right. So, I mean, just to give you an example of where students get to at the end of 506, there are, in the second half of the course, we're doing a lot of using this package called requests, which lets you write a Python program that goes and fetches the contents from a web page and bring it back. In particular, to fetch contents from web pages that are set up, that are designed to be consumed by computer programs. They're called web services or APIs. So in several different assignments, students are grabbing data from Flickr, which is a photo sharing site, from Twitter, from Facebook, and then doing some processing on it. So for example, one of the assignments the students in 506 are going to grab all of the text of their most recent posts on Facebook, count how many positive and negative words there were in each of the posts. So you sort of assign an emotion score to each of the posts, and then generate an Excel graph that charts the emotion score of the post versus the number of comments or likes that the post received from your friends. So you'll actually, you know, with a bunch of scaffolding, with us kind of walking you through how to generate that program, you'll be writing programs that grab data from Facebook and do that kind of analysis. That's where we're trying to get you by the end of 506. But there will be lots of scaffolding, lots of help along the way to get there.
So Stephanie, I got a question about SI 664, 665. I don't know about 665. SI 664 is the database class. So historically, the pattern that people took was SI 502, which is the Python class, then SI 539, which is the HTML CSS class, and then SI 661, the HTML CSS class. It teaches PHP, teaches MySQL, teaches JavaScript, teaches jQuery, and it sort of expects that you can absorb new programming languages quickly. So we'll teach JavaScript in 2 lectures in 664. And so this year, 664 will be in the fall, and next year, 664 will also be in the fall. So this year, we're not going to assume SI 507 for 664, but next year, we will assume SI 507 for 664. So between this year and next year, SI 664 will be next year the 664 will be a more rigorous and a more quick, faster moving class. And so those of you who are entering now will probably take the more advanced 664. On the other hand, if you have a programming background, you probably could, you know, if you have taken, say, 2 programming classes and maybe know 2 languages reasonably well, you know, 2 semesters of programming, you probably could walk into, and you know HTML and CSS, you could walk into 664 this fall. And so 664 is not itself a super difficult class because it covers so many things so fast. But people get lost in if you can't absorb quickly, you get lost in 664. And so that's the big fear in 664 is you're like, and you blink and oop, that was the 2 weeks of JavaScript and I blinked and now wait a sec, the rest of the course depends on that. And so 664 is not a class you want to fall behind in. I said next fall it will be a more rigorous course because it can depend on 507. And that will be there'll be a lot of courses in the 600, technical courses in the 600 that will depend on 507, and that will change the nature of those courses for better. There's another question about summer courses early in the MSI thing. And one of the things that I've been hoping that we do as we take some of these core programming classes and kind of move them off our curriculum and into MOOCs is it means you can take them anytime. And so one of the things I'm hopeful to be able to do, not guaranteeing because there's a lot of paperwork to fill out and I got to do a whole bunch of work, but I'd like to have a MOOC sometime in the fall for SI664, which is the PHP MySQL class. And so what's cool about that is that let's just say I've got that going by October, November, and you want to learn a bunch of that over the break or something, and you're still taking 506 in the fall and 507 in the winter, and you're like, oh, 664 was in the fall and I couldn't take it in the fall, but I want to learn the 664 material in the winter. Hopefully I'll have a MOOC for it. And so what'll happen is for those things which we have MOOCs, and we actually, Colleen Van Lent has a MOOC for 539. And so there is much of the 539 material is called Web Design for Everybody, taught on Coursera by Colleen Van Lent. And so you're like, oh, I don't have time for 539 or whatever. If you do a serious job on those MOOCs, they're a pretty good substitute. Python for Everybody is a good substitute for 502. Web Design for Everybody from Colleen, that's a great substitute for 539. And I'm hoping to have a pretty good substitute for 664. That doesn't mean we don't want you to ever take those classes, but we don't mind if you take even better classes. What it means is if all of a sudden you want to brush up on something that you didn't have time to fit into your schedule, but you want to brush up on it before you're going for your interviews for your internships at the end of the first year, we want to make it so MOOCs make it so you can I want to learn PHP right now. I don't want to wait till next fall 664. I'm going to learn it right now, and here's a MOOC. So that's one of the nice things about how the MOOCs kind of hybridize your ability under less stressful conditions to pick up some of this stuff outside the schedule that we have it. And I'm expecting that as we go forward, we'll find there's a lot of situations where MOOCs will give you more flexibility to gain the skills, and then you can use your credits and face-to-face time with more awesome courses like information architecture or HCI or mobile design or entrepreneurship. Those are things that don't necessarily translate as well to MOOCs the way that coding and programming and more technical stuff are much more natural in MOOCs because we can write auto graders and they scale and we have books and it's, so in my dream, I'd like to see lots of MOOCs and you spend more of your time on this campus doing stuff with people and doing real
I will look into that. I have just been doing some stuff with it this morning, and I may have broken it. And sound.
Welcome to summer.
And sound has cut out on the chat, we're told.
Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast and start it back up. Something did go wrong.